So this is a bit of a different way of doing a make it video. For I've made them already. Um, I didn't intend to make them as quickly as I did. I think from start to finish, B took me, I believe it was 4 days. So this video is actually going to be how I made him, not making him, if that makes sense. So let's jump into it. I've got a couple of things to show you, but this is a 1-to-1 scale BD-1 unit. So this guy was made out of a couple of different things, but realistically, he is, I believe this is 4mm foam, cardboard, insulation foam, and corrugated plastic. He's not made out of much. Realistically, I made him with just the stuff I had on hand. Starting down at his feet, every joint is fully jointed when it doesn't stick. Every joint is fully jointed. So with each of the joints, they are, I believe this is 1.5 inches, and it allows for both to be able to pose in all of the different ways. I did initially have the feet so that they were one item as a whole. However, that caused a couple of issues with how long this bolt ended up needing to be, and it just wasn't worth it, because the bolt would have ended up being about 1/4 of an inch longer on both sides, so it just made it a little bit more difficult. Had I actually thought it through, I would have made sure that the bolts thread on in this way, like I have up here, where the nuts are on the inside. The only downfall was no matter how much you moved them, the nuts did end up unscrewing themselves, because I couldn't put locking nuts on it because it chewed up the plastic. Ask me how I know. So, don't mind these. These are from the con. You'll see pictures throughout of taking him. I brought him to Fan Expo this year, so if you saw a BD unit around being carried around like a little baby, that was him. Now these, along with these circuit boards right in here, are some fun greeblies that I got a hold of. So the cables are just these cables that the lovely guys at the Canada Computers near me gave me. I don't know what these were, but I was like, oh, this kind of looks like this and the cables, they kind of match up this part here, I just put it on the screen, of the actual droid. So I figured, might as well use them up, cut it off, and so now I've got like a bunch of these bits hanging around. Might figure out more Greeplay stuff. But these used to be green. I went through and actually painted these with just a black acrylic marker. I wanted to have the detail on the inner leg, but I didn't want to deal with, having to like try and paint all the little detail. And like from a distance, you can't really tell the difference between the two colors. It ends up looking really good, even on camera. So that's how about we went through this, and it allows for all of these sections. So moving up the leg a little bit, you'll see that a couple of times here that some of the plastic has gotten chipped and bent and whatnot. He took a heck of a fall. This is more damage. I just want to point out though that I fell with him and we still managed to both walk away from it. Mostly. Kind of. We're walking. That's what matters. And so going through here, these leg sections are made out of corrugated plastic. So I used this. It's a big sheet that comes in. Give me 1 second. Quite literally, just like this. It's one big sheet, and it's corrugated. So if you're familiar with corrugated cardboard, same stuff. This is just the plastic version, and it came in this white color. So you'll sometimes see bits of the white where the paint has chipped off, like around the nut here too. It's slowly chipped off over 2 days that I had him at a convention, and whatnot. So I couldn't really prime the exterior of these, but they were sanded, so that just shows how much wear and tear they can take once they're covered in paint. But I do plan on going back and like actually tidying this up, because like this is not the best paint job. This is just a I think I did a lot of this detail work maybe 24 hours before we were heading out the door, so planning on going back with some paint markers and tidying up the edges here and whatnot, but I tried to mimic as much as I could to what his actual design is in game. So I just want to point out though that all of this is to scale. This is how big his feet actually are. In like comparison to my hand, he was a pain in the butt to carry around. I think from head to foot, he's 50 centimeters, I believe. So, well, 50 centimeters when his knees are bent. So, he's pretty good when it comes to it. Also on top of that, to try to hide how smooth this was, we did some dry brushing, kind of dirtying him up. I did a lot on everywhere, just trying to like make him look like a droid who's actually been out in the woods and out doing things, doing adventures and whatnot. This, had I had the ability to get a different color, I wouldn't have gone with yellow. It's just yellow was the only color of 2mm foam that I had on hand. Had I had the opportunity, I would have used gray. And if you're going to try and build this guy, use gray. Or don't do this the way I did. I did this was because, so underneath here, this is insulation foam. And this is technically 3 pieces of insulation foam sandwiched together with one piece, a little bit, actually I can show you. So there's kind of one piece just hiding in the middle there, and then there's 2 pieces of insulation foam on either side. There's a car, give me 1 second. So this is actually held together. We've got the little piece of foam that I think sits just about there in the body, and then the legs are bolted above it. So there's actually, so it's like a square, and then there's 2 bolts on the diagonal. One of them is holding the neck in place. The other one sits way down here and is like hidden in that corner. It's not visible on the outside, only internally. I was kind of impressed with myself to make sure that the neck could move in the natural way that you don't stop it, natural way that it does in game. He doesn't have the same stability, but I needed his neck to be able to move without being able to 3D print parts. So yeah, I tried to mimic this. I'll probably put a piece of greebling, or I've got this internally corrugated paper that I'll likely use to cover up some of the damage here from the fall. Basically what had happened is his head leaned all the way forward without me being able to catch it in time, and so it caused this. Up next, we've got his head, which is built in the same way, or his neck built in the same way as his legs. His legs are sandwiched, so all the corrugation goes the same way. His neck is sandwiched so that the corrugation inverts. I did this because I wanted this internal texture to make it look like it had like gears in it, and it gave it a little bit more of a look. I had a lot of people trying to figure out what he was made of from a distance from this because they couldn't tell. People aren't typically used to seeing corrugated plastic around. So like down here, his neck has a another pivot point. Let's see if I can get a video in there. Yeah, you can see it. They're wooden dowels. They're like decently thick wooden dowels that go all the way through, and it's actually sandwiched in 2 pieces of foam. So his head is made out of 3 pieces, internally here, 3 pieces of the 1-inch insulation foam, because his whole head is just shy of 4 inches. And then there's another one up here that has been shapen down to be the top part. This visor was a last minute thing. What I wanted to use I couldn't find in time, and I just so happened to like get a package in like a really flimsy box, and this this piece of cardboard just happened to be like the perfect shape. It's one of those things when you're making props, you never know what you're going to use. So going on from here, I stacked and layered his head from a distance. Picture here. You can actually see, you can't really see that there's layers in here, you can just see the texture. But I carved down on away the 1-inch foam and ended up stacking another piece of 4mm foam on top. So like from this particular angle, you can see it. From the top, it does disappear and becomes the full piece because there is this little divot in it and whatnot. These are little internal pumpkin lights that are actually magneted into the head, and they are solidly in there. They normally turn on. I'll share a picture of the lights on, but his batteries are dead. They are just, you just unscrew them and plug in a battery, and then they just kind of press and screw back into place if I can get it on with one hand. But these lights are remote controlled. So one thing I was able to do was have my hand in the pocket, as well as being able to just hold him and be able to control the lights. They weren't the perfect color match, but like there's some fun pics of the lights being different colors. See here and here. The Alex Brightman one, he got a good joke out of me turning the lights green just for him. So that's how I built up this. This little piece of foam actually ended up breaking off while I was making him, and I ended up just kind of like sealing it back together. And I was like, you know what? This isn't going to be BD-1. This is BD-H. This is my droid. So yeah, my droid's got a little bit of vandal damage. You'll see like little bits of damage other places. So after that, I'm like, you know what? If things get damaged, things get dented, it's not the end of the world. Going on to his antenna. His antenna on both sides are the same, so we're just going to show this one. So there's a fun thing here. I used so many googly eyes. You've probably already seen some, and you don't even realize it. So this right here is holding the pin in place that allows this whole part to swivel. This one's come loose. The other one actually stays upright significantly more. This one, I just didn't get it pinned properly and deep enough where it wouldn't pivot too much. So this one's just, it's a little loose. But this little centerpiece, this is a googly eye. Now the other place you've seen the googly eye is right here and right here. So these were jumbo googly eyes. I took apart, used the plastic to dome out the eyes, and then used the black bit to hold the spike in place for the hip joint. And so when I figured out this would work really well, I'm like, why don't I just use the googly eyes in the other places? This is from me carrying him home on the GO train, so this was actually like pure silver for the entirety of Fan Expo. So googly eyes, like painting them and using them, works really, really well. With the circle here, you'll notice like there's a lot of scratches and whatnot. I made a bunch of these that were clean. They're like really pretty foam circles, but they didn't look right. The thing is, with Star Wars, most things have battle damage. Most things have been through a lot. So I quite literally took my nail, drove it in, and dug these sections out. I drove my thumb in and just hooked it and pulled it down. And I did that with a couple of different fingers all around it. Because doing it any other way, it just didn't look right. The battle damage kind of sold it being damaged. We've got the details painted on here, which I'm going to add more to as I get done. Again, a lot of the painted details were quite literally done the night before I took them to Fan Expo. The antenna part here, these are antenna covers for RC vehicles. We have an RC shop not far from me, and I was like, oh wait, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. So I just cut them to length and jabbed them in. Like there's a little bit of glue holding this in, but there's not a lot. Like these are solidly in there. They are not moving. Okay, onwards now to the top of the head, because there's some kind of unique things that I tried to do that didn't end up working out, but I plan on going back to and rehashing. And a lot of it is you're going to see four indents on the top of his head. I built him with the intention of him being a marionette puppet. I had a whole T-bar made, like you've probably seen the caps here in the background. These were meant for the end caps of the T-bars and whatnot, and I was going to make it so like I could like have him carry around and like hold him up above and whatnot. The issue is that I couldn't get the height right, because I was using fishing line, and fishing line is incredibly slippery and whatnot. I had gotten like little clips that go, so these were actually the indents from the screw-in like eye-rings, little eye-rings with a screw in them. I screwed them in and like secured them somewhat into here, just kind of as a temporary measure to figure out the distance. The issue is that this one had to be completely different size than this one, these two, and then all these had to be different sizes from this. So like I had to make 3 different size threads to try and get it to sit at a way where his head kind of tilts upwards a little bit, so you can actually look up and around at everybody. Trying to make them the same height ended up working, because it ended up messing up with his legs. So I, night before, kind of gave up on trying to get this to work. I did take his puppetry equipment with me. If I'm like, you know what, if I have a moment, I'm going to sit down and work on him. I had far too much fun carrying him around in my arms, so I never ended up doing that. So he's not. I'm going to go through, I'm going to fill these guys in eventually with it. With some sort of modeling or whatnot. This one's kind of hidden, but these ones I'll heal up the damage and then cover this all up with some greebles, make it so it's not as flat. This is the corrugated paper from earlier. He's got some corrugation across the top of his head, and I was like, this is such an easy way of doing this. I'm just going to do this. And I could mostly line them up, not entirely, because like you're not really going to see this part of him. Most people saw the face, and mostly just looked at the face. This was here for me. So this is just dry brushed across with a carbon black metallic paint. Simple, easy. You can see all the dry brushing up top with the carbon black metallic paint. Kind of give it both that sheen and that like damaged look. And then we got the cutout at the top here. So yeah, that's how we did it. That's how we did a lot of it. He's got a lot of detail brushing, and he's got a lot more detail brushing to come. But this is my BD unit. This is something I'm incredibly proud of. Especially given I only made him in 4 days. And yeah. Next time I build a prop, I promise I'll take you along with it. There is another one in the works. I promise. But that is everything for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed my little BD unit. Hope to see you soon.